Welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with Karl Bryan. If you want to attract new high-end coaching clients, fill live events, and build a wildly profitable coaching practice where business owners pay, stay, and refer, you've come to the right place. In this podcast, Karl provides his keys to the kingdom for finding and signing high-paying clients and building the coaching business of your dreams. Here we go.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Business Coaching Secrets, where we give you the strategies, the mindsets, and the frameworks to building your own six, and dare I say, seven-figure coaching business. I am, of course, your host with the most, the road dog. This is none other than the man, the myth, the Dolphin King himself, Karl Bryan. Shoots, welcome to the program.
Yo, road dog, how are you, my brother? What's going on?
Well, I think we are, 3-4 games into the NHL season, and I think I've already given up on the Canucks. So there you go, Shoots. It's happened.
The Maple Leafs aren't that much better, bud, so don't feel bad. Oh, my gosh. Oh, well, we'll see, dude. We'll see. Jays are doing well. So.
When you say well, Seattle kind of crushed them the first two games, but yes, we're flying, I believe, and let's see if they can make it a comeback. But fall is one of my favorite seasons of all. You've got NHL, NFL, Major League Baseball playoffs. You got it all, Shoots. Plus, you got Black Friday, you got Halloween, and you got Christmas around the corner. It's the marketing and sports just trifecta.
Shoots. Over time.
It's like son of a gun, man. Oh, there we go. That's it. That's what's happening, folks.
Boom.
Hey, listen, we were chatting a bit in the pre-show, and you felt that you really want to expand on something that we were kind of talking about last week, and that was just, about who you follow and listen to. I thought that was really kind of interesting. So let's go ahead and expand on that a bit, if you don't mind.
Yeah, okay. Actually, before I answer this, I've got to tell you, I took a young girl. She's 19 years old from England, and I took her out. She's a friend, she family friend, blah, 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 blah. She's in town, and I took her e-foiling, and she's e-foiling, and you can imagine she's wiping out left, right, and center. So she went over a shark, and oh my gosh, the poor thing. She lost every bit of color, and not in her face, but her. It's gonna be okay. I promise you, we're good. Just keep going. Or in the middle, there wasn't really, there's one way of doing this, and that's she's got to ride that thing back. Oh my gosh!
Is that the equivalent of teaching a kid to swim by throwing them in the deep end? Is just, you want to learn how to eat well? Here you go. Here's a bunch of shark infested waters. Go ahead, figure it out.
She's like, you could have warned me. Anyways, that was pretty. There you go. Okay. Let's get into it. What was I going to say? Last week. So I'm just saying, Steve Jobs didn't let his family use the iPad, right? Tobacco companies aren't exactly, encouraging their family to smoke by any stretch of the imagination, despite the fact publicly, they're saying one thing and then something totally different privately, which I believe that, and I think where that came from is we're talking about AI, and you listen to the big dogs get interviewed, let's call that Sam Altman and their crew. And they're kind of saying something different publicly, right? But what I really wanted to, you got to also, Facebook, social media, organic reels, you're on Instagram, right? It's not, Steve Jobs not popping up giving motivational advice on your Facebook, but you know who is? It's the spiritual gal. And then what is she teaching, right? And God bless her, she's doing her best, and I'm sure she's doing a really good job, but she's talking about finding your way. But often that individual is more lost than the audience. Maybe a better example for you and I, Road Dog, right? It's the guy with the tattoos and the tight shirt screaming masculinity at the, as loud as he possibly can. And you reverse engineer it, you get to know them, you find they're more insecure than the audience more often than not. That's what I'm saying, right? Or another good example would be, let's say there's a guy and he travels 300 days a year, or a gal, motivational speaker, traveling 300 days a year, telling you to live an amazing life, but they don't have their own life worked out and their kids are missing them wildly, right? Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. I think, is that the name of the book? Have a look at, the author of that, right, has been divorced multiple times, right? So, but again, great book, great concepts, but in some case, the young guy screaming Bitcoin. I wrote an email earlier this week, like crypto took a massive nosedive. And it's the young guy driving the Ferrari, which has got more impact than the guy with ridiculously gray hair driving the Ferrari, right? They win for a little bit of a rude awakening, and they're not investing, they're gambling, right? And by the way, if you like, there was a young guy, God bless him, and may he rest in peace. But he killed himself in his Lamborghini. And I don't know how much, if you read my email, you'll be able to see kind of a little bit of a breakdown. But at the end of the day, he was gambling, right? He wasn't playing with his money. He was playing with money that he leveraged, right? Like he puts 5 in and then he's gambling with 50 because these apps allow you to, leverage. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. At the end of the day, these guys got liquidated. And what happens? That means you go to zero. When you go to zero, what do you got to do? It's the exact same thing as Monopoly. You go to bed, the game is over, and there is the option to start again. But when you manage to build up $1 million, $5 million, $10 million, $30 million, in the case of the young guy in the Lamborghini, as I understand it, starting again, I'll let you guess how good that feels, right? So maybe 2 things that are incredibly rare to happen at the same time are what? Old and rich. Right? These are the people that you want to be listening to. The young guy in the Ferrari, no thank you. I want to listen to people who have been through the dot-com bubble, been through the 2008 real estate crash, been through COVID, rode the wave, still standing. These are the autobiographies I think you want to be listening to, or you want to be reading or listening to, for that matter, listening to their advice and their interviews on YouTube, which, by the way, guess what? If you go to YouTube, are they going to pop up? No. What you're going to have to do is you're going to have to, go searching a little bit. Don't let YouTube dictate what you're going to be listening to. You decide who you're going to be listening to. If I were to help you with who to listen to, again, you're looking for somebody who is old and rich. Like I said this for years. I used to send this out a lot. I haven't done it in a while. I don't think we've said it here, but like reading letters to shareholders is a significantly better idea than reading, the new guru book on XYZ. You read like the Amazon.com letters to shareholders. I mean, like it's one of the best. The learnings in it would just be unbelievable. Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett, what he's got to say, what he sees, what, you can see like what he saw, what they predicted, where they're going. And because he's got letters to shareholders for the last 20 years, you can see how it unfolded. And by the way, in the case of Amazon.com, you were going to see a business genius telling you exactly how he is going to, move and the steps that he's going to take. And you can see whether they did or did not work out and some of the reasoning behind it. And it's just pure gold. So anyway, so Irvin Rich, very, very rare. These are the types of people to be listening to. Just being a little bit, and again, be using your critical thinking skills. And when you hear, high level guy, Sam Altman as an example, and this isn't a shot at Sam Altman. Not that he cares in any way, shape, or form what I think of him or what I'm saying here. But at the end of the day, what he's saying publicly and what he might be saying privately could be a little bit different. It comes a little bit, this is a little bit of a rabbit hole, not going there, but they've just come out with this erotica something or other on ChatGPT. And it infuriates me, if I'm honest with you. It's just nothing good going to come of young men using ChatGPT to have erotic conversations with someone who does not exist. Okay? No doubt that needs no further explanation, but it's a little bit wild. And I think that might give you a bit of an insight as to, do they care about humanity? Do they care about your children? Do they care about your grandkids? Do they care about 20-year-olds? And that decision tells me hard no. And I'd be lying to say that it's not. Infuriating is nowhere near strong enough word. So, but anyway, it is what it is. We'll have to manage it. So there we are, shoots. That's what I would say. That's what I wanted to say.
Hey, speaking of things that don't exist, I saw a good meme the other day that said, "Hey, how did they put the moon rover inside of that spaceship when they landed it on the moon when it's so small?" Anywho, moving on. How about your conspiracy theories, Shoots? What are your thoughts on the moon landing and other conspiracy theories that you may or may not be a fan of or think of?
Moon landing? I don't know. I don't know. Try find the tapes of the moon landing, and guess what you're going to find is they were all lost. Which, if I use my critical thinking skills, that seems strange. The fact that a computer used to be, the size of, what I mean, an apartment building. And now we've all carry one in our pocket, and we don't have the ability to send ourselves back to the moon, but we were able to do it way back when. I don't know. I'm not so sure. If it wasn't for COVID, it wasn't for kind of this Epstein thing, I would probably have a little more faith in, let's just call it, our government agencies, and I'd be a little bit less skeptical. I've also been, and again, I got to be like you guys, I talk this stuff, I'm like, I'm following Tucker Carlson. Okay. Follow him for a short period of time, and you're going to see that he's got many interviews out there about the 9/11 stuff. Some of what these guys say, and it sounds pretty damn convincing to me from very convincing people with very legitimate jobs over not, a year or two, but well over a decade, saying some pretty hairy things. Right. So anyway, so Epstein killing himself, the fact that the cameras went on at that exact same time, I would invite you. I have no idea what did and did not happen. Not going to ever pretend to. But let me tell you, the cameras going off at that particular time is just use your critical thinking skills. And that just seems gobsmacking to me. But anyway, so I don't know. It's conspiracy theories. I don't know. I'd like to think that we landed on the moon, and I would like to think that that was an amazing dealio, but little doubtful. Sure.
Let's move on because we could dissect the moon landing for hours.
Nobody.
Okay, here's a good one. Okay. Obviously, we have dealt with, well, for myself, probably hundreds, you and the thousands of people that have become a business coaching consultant. And we had somebody write in, and you know what? They came from a very successful career, and they are struggling as a business coach. Obviously, I can't even imagine the mental battles that you're going through when you were doing well, and now all of a sudden you're back on the struggle bus. Can you just sort of maybe walk them off the ledge and sort of give your thoughts on this?
Okay, so so a successful past career, and now they're out there as a business coach, and they're struggling a little bit. I think you just said it. It's mental gymnastics on steroids. You need to manage it. Charlie Munger, speaking of old and rich, may he rest in peace. He passed away not long ago at the ripe old age of 99. Legend. What he will say is he doesn't look for brilliance. He looks for temperament. And if you gave him the option between those two things, again, he's choosing the person with temperament. Translation, the person to be able to manage their psychology. So you'd have to do this in this situation. Maybe when I go to, I've said this before, but you got, professional athlete, you got pre-career, or not pre-career, maybe, career and then post-career, right? Well, pro athletes probably already know this, certainly talked about it in the past. Pro athletes have a hell of a time, getting past the brighter, you know what I mean? Like getting past the fact that now they're retired, and that, the past is always going to be brighter and more impressive than their future. That's what I'm trying to say, right? Like imagine walking into a stadium and having 50,000 plus people cheer, right? Not to mention making a catch and everybody goes nuts. Not to mention getting a touchdown and jumping into the crowd and having everybody go nuts. And then you're leaving the field, and what are you doing? Signing autographs, people yelling your name. They take cameras and microphones and put them in front of you. They want to interview you, right? Like I've got a very close buddy, Patty, might be listening, by the way, shout out. My boy lives in Canada, right? Living on my street, and I used to go for walks and stuff, and I caught up with him this summer. But one of the things I said to him, we talked about exactly this, and I said, let's taking a long conversation in a sentence. And it's like, man, it's really, really hard to replace, skating onto an ice rink and having 20,000 people scream wildly, for the playoff game. And he said, abso-stinking-lutely. And by the way, so this is why Tom Brady is now part owner of the Raiders, signed a something like $250 million crazy contract with Fox to do broadcasting. And he understands that he's not that good at broadcasting. And guess what? He's a student and he's getting a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. And what he's really trying to do, I would dare say, never spoken to the man, but he's trying to make sure that he has got a very bright future. And let's face it, Tom Brady with 7 rings, I don't think that his post-career is going to be as cool as his career, but at the same time, he knows that he doesn't want to do a nosedive. That, Kobe, Magic Johnson, right? What do? They retired and they went straight into business. People that haven't had a professional sporting career would say, oh, why don't you just retire and chill out? You got more money than you could ever spend. Why don't you just chill out, drink coffee and relax? And that is the exact opposite of what they wanted to do, right? It just doesn't suit their personality type. So maybe so the secret to having a better now is having a bigger, brighter future, right? So make a monster goal that drives you. And that goal can't be $10,000 a month, which is insanely lame, but crazy common. It's got to be, in my opinion, it's got to be designed as something that positively impacts others. You always do more for others than you do for yourself. Like you mentioned, the astronauts that landed on the moon, they all became addicts, right? Let's just assume they did land there. Well, the translation of that would be they knew the encore of life was never going to be as impressive as how are you going to top landing on the moon, right? Like, what are you going to do for an encore? So, again, making your future bigger, brighter, better, regardless of how amazing it's been, is the solution. And that, again, pro athletes deal with that on a very high level, more than, the average bear. This individual had a, really successful past career. She's got to make sure that they, create a really big frame of what they're going to do with their business coaching and start moving towards it. Remember, 1% a day for 365 days is a 37x return. I don't care how bad you are at sales, how bad you are at consulting. If we 37x your talents, you'd be unbelievable at it, right? And by the way, you can't fix your thoughts with more thoughts, right? Overthinking is often fear disguised. That's disguised, right? So the solution to that is what? And I made a meal of this on the podcast, which I got told many times, but like ready, fire, aim, right? Like you got to go. Like samurais are literally trained to die with honor, right? Well, you're scared to reach out to an old friend or an accountant, scared to make a cold call, not willing to make a cold call, feeling like you're too good to make a cold call, potentially because of that past career. Bad frame. Right? Scared to go for the sale, scared to ask for the sale, scared that the objection's going to come, right? Scared to fill the event, scared to book the events, scared to put the money in harm's way to go book the venue, because you're not sure if anybody's going to show up and if it's going to be, worthwhile doing. What you got to do is you got to go to the Chamber of Commerce, give them your credit card, have them hit it for whatever, $300, whatever it's going to cost you to do the room. And all of a sudden, guess what? You're going to be significantly more motivated to fill that event. To become a successful business coach. And guess what? You are semi-retired for the rest of your life, right? 20 clients at $2,000 a month is $480,000 a year, with like 70, depending upon some nuances, but like 70 to 80% margins. The landscaper, the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, they do not have those types of margins. And remember, okay, so bigger frame, and let's motivate somebody to go, okay, I am going to go. You got to not do it for yourself. Again, the big goal, remember, it can't be $10,000 a month. It's got to be about positively impacting others for a meaningful and a noble pursuit. Well, 90% of Main Street businesses ultimately fail, right? Not Wall Street, but Main Street. Imagine the wonderful impact you can have on a family, on a business, on a community, on an individual, or maybe think bigger. And not only can you impact them, but you can impact people across the city, across the state, across the country, right? That's why I built an operating system that can be installed into any business And then I backed it all up with software, right? And again, 1% a day, 365 days. I think we created the software 12 years ago. You could imagine the iterations and the improvements and some of the stuff we're doing with AI now and integrating it. I ain't going down it as freaking, I love it and hate it all at the same time. It is so complicated integrating this stuff in, but at the same time, that's what we're doing. We got this new AI business coaching dojo that we talked about in a few of the other podcasts. Like, it's unreal. You know what I mean? And again, come to fruition, and it's going to be amazing. And the impact that it's going to make for our clients and then subsequently those small business owners, it's going to be unbelievable. You ask me again, that's like I'm talking you through my own mental gymnastics, because believe me, it is challenging. It is expensive. It is problem after problem after problem. It's like, oh my gosh, are we ever going to get this thing live? Are we ever going to get this thing done? But guess what? It's going to be amazing once it gets done. The future is bigger than the past. End of story. And the businesses you're looking to work with, what are they trying to do? They're trying to get big so that they can get rich. That's not how the story ends. That's the problem that you ultimately solve, right? So the 3 laws of real estate, what are they? Location, location, location. So if you were to press me and say, are there 3 laws of business, 3 laws for the local business owners? Guess what? Profit, profit, profit. Profit is the domino that knocks over all the other dominoes. So again, thinking global impact with leverage, like, would you have that ability? That, I don't know, that's a way of framing up. That's what I would say, Sheets. I would just say, look, we've got to create a bigger future for the individual than their past. They might be struggling with that right now with their the mental gymnastics, and they need to be solving a really, really big problem, right? I don't know, if you help 10 business owners that were otherwise going to go bust, and you change their life, you change the trajectory, you change everything about the dynamic of that business. How do you do it? Profit's a domino that knocks over all the other dominoes. Imagine what that looks like. The Christmas cards that I get to this day, the reach outs I get in and around Thanksgiving and Christmas from people that I worked with so long ago, and currently, by the way. We keep a lot of clients for over a decade. Those are the same types of people that tend to reach out. So anyway, Shoots, that's, semi-retired for the rest of your life once you get there. But like with anything, compounding, the 8th wonder of the world, it's amazing. The problem is what? Everybody's got to start at the beginning. And if you're a business coach, guess what? You run the 100-meter dash. What do you got to do? You need a starting line and a finishing line, right? Well, the problem with having a successful career and then taking this on is that, unfortunately, no matter how successful you have been in the past, if you don't have any clients, you don't have any experience, you got to step back into the starting blocks. And that can be challenging for the mental gymnastics kind of reasons that I just alluded to. Anyway, Shoots, that's what I would say. Semi-retired for the rest of your life. Find a way to work it out. Maybe, Shoots, before I throw it back to you, I would just go to Warren Buffett, right? I mentioned Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett, right? Business partners, Berkshire Hathaway. These guys are worth hundreds of billions of dollars, given insane amounts of money away, made an unbelievable impact. And ultimately, if you look at Warren Buffett, you think that he's like an investment guy, right? Warren Buffett is a business consultant all day long, twice on Sunday, right? He provides time and money to businesses that he can positively impact. And if he can't positively impact the business, he doesn't give them the time, he doesn't give them the money, right? He gets paid a little bit differently than you and I, let's say. Let's agree with that. But at the end of the day, he's ultimately a business consultant. And I also tell you, show me another industry where you can start at the age of 60 and start signing autographs at the age of 70. And you're going to struggle mightily outside owning a professional sports franchise, as an example. That'll get it done and have people ask for your autograph. Well, becoming a business consultant, just think of the folks on Shark Tank. Again, these guys are ultimately business consultants. They invest in the businesses and they provide guidance. They provide mentorship. They provide the bigger picture, the guidance. They join their board, etc. Anyway, so that's, I don't know, Sheets, that's what I would say. There's the reason why Warren Buffett loves this industry, 80% margins. He always says he wants to buy something wants to buy it for a penny, sell it for $1, habit forming. Translation, he wants high margin businesses with repeat sales. Business coaching is that on steroids. The landscape of the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, they just don't play with our margins. So that's a reason to push through. How do you shoots? That's my answer, man.
Okay, so you mentioned your operating system there, and I know it obviously quite well, but one of the categories in there is additional products and services. And I just wanted you to give us maybe just a few examples of how that can be applied to a coaching client.
Yeah. Good question. Okay, so the Jumpstart 12, that's the foundation of the operating system. And what you do is you go to a business and let's say they have $500,000 of gross revenues, which is, again, you might be saying, oh, I go to $5 million companies, $25 million companies, $50 million companies. Well, I would encourage you to think about going to what I call the fat middle if you want to really grow a big business and make it easy to generate leads and easy to find new clients. 96% don't make it to $1 million in gross revenues. So the operating system, you've got 12 specific areas. If you had a $500,000 company with 10% net margins, that is, again, the math, that's $50,000 of earnings, $50,000 of profit. If you go in the 12 areas and you make a 2% bump in all of them, I actually said this recently, I think, so you have a $72,000 of newfound profit on that example. And if you go 5% improvement in all 12, which, by the way, you could have a really bad client and be a really bad coach consultant to only get a 5% bump in each of the 12 areas, with 5% across the board, it's $213,000 of newfound profit, right? Rooted in math, not an opinion, not something that I saw work once or twice. It is literally rooted in math, and you can't get away from it, like 80-20, right? 80-20 is a universal principle. Anyway, so additional products and services, one of those. So what I would say, if done properly, I can tell you it's going to add 20 to 30% sales growth. Okay, certainly if we use McDonald's as the crown example, and you should, or I don't know that you should, but there's things you know, things you know you don't know, and things you don't know you don't know. I'm almost positive that you're very familiar with McDonald's. So by using that, it can be really easy to get your head around. So you go McDonald's, additional products and services. They had the McRib, they had the McPizza. Today, if you go there, they're going to have the McFlurry, right? That's an example of additional products and services. Do you want fries with that, right? So again, that is a cross-sell. But ultimately, what happens when they sell fries, which is an additional product and services that they may or may not have had at one point, although they did start with fries, burger, and Coke, right? But let's pretend. Here's what happens. 30% of the people say yes. Okay, that's the good news. What's the bad news there? 70% say no, right? But here's more good news, is that it makes them about $1 billion a year of pure profit, right? So like a baseball player, you don't want to try hit 1,000. You want to try and hit 300. Guys who hit 300 in the major leagues make I don't even know, but they make 10, 20, $30 million a year, right? So again, what am I trying to say there? When you ask 10 people, and 3 say yes and 7 say no, the mental gymnastics of that is that 7 out of 10 are saying no, so you don't do it. McDonald's don't worry about that. They worry about the 3 that say yes, and then it's 20 to 30% sales growth, and it's, and it's wild. So maybe so McDonald's, let's face it, you're probably not working with McDonald's. A yoga studio, yoga mats, foam rollers. May or may not have used a foam roller this morning, so that's a little bit top of mind. Maybe some personal lessons, right? Some personal yoga instruction. Do me a favor, Shoots. Give me an industry, and then let me try and freestyle.
Okay, well, that's easy. I'm going to throw it right back at you, Shoots. Folks, this is on your bingo card. How about
what?
The butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker? Shoots, the show.
Shoots, I should have. Oh, like butcher, baker. Okay. Okay, butcher. And by the way, I am not. Okay, so I say butcher, baker, candlestick maker a lot. I am not an expert in butcher shops, but what can a butcher shop do? Repeat business equals profit. So maybe like prepaid meal kit and a monthly meat box that gets delivered. Okay, that work? House-made marinades, maybe. Barbecue sauce, spices, high-end cheese. I talked about margins a minute ago, profits. Like, what about barbecue classes? That could probably work. And by the way, if you offer barbecue classes to your clients, what's going to happen? most of them are going to say no, right? What's also going to happen? Some of them are going to say yes. They're also going to become raving fans and love everything about what you do. So those barbecue classes, guess what they're going to have that the high-end cheese doesn't? And that's what Warren Buffett would say: buy it for a penny, sell it for $1, have it habit forming. You're going to have wild margins on those barbecue classes that they don't have with their spices and whatnot, right? Okay, so I don't know how that good is. How good that is. It's bakery. Savory sweet pies come to mind. Seasonal pastries. We've got Halloween coming up, like a harvest moon pie, right? Seeing those themed desserts. Let's just say Texas style donuts, holiday bundles. What about day old bread? What do they do with the bread? Once it gets to a certain point, they throw it out. Why? Because they want to be delivering fresh bread. Well, you know what? What if they put it up there as, day old bread, and it sells, or it doesn't? Day old bread is just not that bad, right? People keep the stuff for an entire week, but a purpose, a bakery, they want to keep everything fresh, right? Well, that would be an additional product and service, because otherwise, what are they doing? They're throwing it out. And by the way, so that the margins on that are going to be a little bit more exciting, because again, normally this stuff is going in the bread and counted as waste, or going in the garbage and counted as wastage. And now all of a sudden you're going to be able to sell maybe half of it, right? And day old pastries, could you do the same thing? Make them half price instead of throwing them in the garbage. They're still good, right? People are looking to save. So that could work. Yeah, grab and go cookie bundle. Like Amazon comes to mind. What do? They offer free shipping, right? What are some of the other stuff, like rush shipping in the same sort of niche, same sort of, overnight delivery? You could charge for that, right? A landscaping business, again, that is a very popular coaching client, and the kind that it's a good chance that you're signing up. But again, it's not going to be the 5, 10, $25 million company on average. What are they going to be doing? $500,000, hopefully, better than 10% net margins, but at roughly that end. What could they sell? How could they drive up sales 20 to 30%? I don't know, gardening supplies, mulch, fertilizer, maybe like native plant kits could work there. Bird houses, maybe ornaments for the yard, potted plants. Maybe again, repeat business equals profit, like a subscription. When I work with clients, very common for me to implement a maintenance plan. What does that mean? Basically, you show up quarterly, in this instance, to manage the yard, right? Or you sell a high-end machine, you put a lifetime warranty or a 5-year warranty built into that as a maintenance program, where, yeah, we're willing to give you a lifetime warranty, but we also have to be able to do is come in and check the machine once every quarter. And what do? You send a sales guy in overalls. What does he do? He kicks the tires, checks the oil, honks the horn. And really, what is he there to do? And he's got to get the manager to sign off. Well, if somebody spent $50,000 on a particular machine, what we found is they were very likely to spend another $50,000 on another machine, or get a $5,000 machine, a $10,000 machine, a $25,000 machine, etc. So what happens is your maintenance plan becomes an opportunity for you to sell significantly more. Do the same thing with a builder, right? So a guy comes in and does your kitchen. Okay, what do? You go, look, what I would like to do is plan for 90 days. I would like to come in and check my work, right? What do most people do when they do a kitchen? They do it, they get the check, and you never, ever, ever hear from them again, right? Well, if they just spend $50,000 on a kitchen, guess what? There's a pretty good chance that same family wants to do a bathroom or do an extension, build a patio. So what happens when you show up in 90 days? It's often, or by the way, you might want to come back in 30, but you come back in 90 days, check your work. Obviously, that makes them feel very, very comfortable that you care about your work. You're backing up your work. It's an opportunity to sell more stuff to them, right? So, maybe should I finish? So landscaping, I don't know, seasonal snow removal. So depending upon where you live, landscaping and snow removal tend to go hand in hand. So you could do that. Yeah. So, that could be another service that you offer, and a way to take dead time, slow time, and jack it up a little bit. Hardscaping patios, walkways, maybe a fire pit installation in Kelowna. We got a really killer fire pit. We don't use it as nearly as often as we should, but I got to tell you, it's a great little spot to sit down, chill out, have a coffee, have a beer, chill out, and have a, around the fire pit type discussion, which tend to be a lot of fun and very relaxing. But anyway, so I don't know, fire pit installation. And what about an eco eco-friendly? Is that it? Like an eco-friendly upgrade, right? So what are you going to do? You're going to use eco-friendly products as opposed to the type of stuff that if your kid licked it, hopefully your kid's not with that. But anyways, I don't know. But you know what I mean? Like eco-friendly upgrade. A lot of people are into that. And guess what? It's going to be more expensive. Why? Because eco-friendly products are known to be a little bit more expensive, right? And then I'm trying to think of like what's the equivalent to the barbecue, like an irrigation audit. I think that could be something, right? Again, you got landscaping, an irrigation audit could be something like they don't have to now remember to turn on the sprinklers, right? That automatically happens at 5 a.m. Do an irrigation audit. What's going to happen with that? That is going to have ridiculous margins, or it's an opportunity to add potentially a free service. But the upgrades to that could be, quite profitable. So that would be a business model thing. Won't go down that rabbit hole. I just got my haircut this morning. So there you go. Let me do a salon. Scalp massage, a mini facial, maybe, and again, I'm probably not going to get a mini facial, but you know what? My wife would be all over it. And again, she's getting her hair colored or whatever she's doing. She's sitting there. Well, a mini facial, while you're just sitting there doing nothing, why don't you get a mini facial, right? No doubts that would work. Products for hair. I don't know if you've got dry hair, again, I know there's got to be products for that. If you've got curly hair, there have to be products for that. If you had dyed hair, I would imagine that would be, there'd be different products for that. I could only assume. Branded scrunchies, headbands, shower cap. Like my wife wears a shower cap. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but anyway, she jumps in the shower. She's got very, very thick hair, right? So she jumps in the shower and she wears a shower cap a lot of the time, right? Well, a branded shower cap, is that something she would want to buy? And by the way, when she does buy it and it's branded and it's got the logo of the company that cuts her hair, they tend to be more loyal, right? So there's a loyal repeat business equals profit. Loyal clients are worth their weight in gold. I don't know. And then, for me, like gel, wax, hairspray, hairbrush. I don't know. I haven't used a hairbrush in many, many, many years, but I imagine my daughter does, right? She uses a hairbrush. Blow dryers. Again, I don't even know if that's still a thing. Wedding offerings got to be mentioned there. If you're thinking hair salon, wedding offerings, additional products and services. A wedding offering is, again, high margin, high ticket, and something that they should have. Is everybody going to buy it? Absolutely not. You're going to get a lot more no's than you're going to get yeses. But remember, you hit, 250, you hit 300, you're looking real, real good. Shoot, you and I did. Okay, so the gym, wrist wraps, back belts, branded t-shirts, branded apparel, maybe a water bottle makes sense, right? Protein powder, supplements, incredibly profitable. Maybe thinking higher end, like a treadmill. If you're working out at the gym, what's the problem with that? Well, it's, hopefully it's an hour a day or, 3 days a week, an hour, but you spend a lot more time where? And that's at home. Well, how could the gym support that? Well, they've got a treadmill that you can buy for, I don't know what a treadmill goes for, but let's just assume it's a good one. It's $1,000, might be 250, it might be 500. I got no idea. But at the end of the day, they could sell the treadmill, right? Then we're going to deliver it for you. We're going to install it for you. We're going to set it up for you, charge for all those types of things. And maybe, light weights and weightlifting bands, again, to support your gym workouts at home. And because you think, oh, okay, well, now they're not going to come to the gym. That's not what's going to end up happening, right? Again, people that don't go to the gym don't tend to work out the way that people that go to the gym do. Anyway, shoots, I don't know. Maybe a personal training, again, high margin. It's a general rule at the gym. They should be upselling that. A personal trainer could probably do all the things that I just said. Water bottles, protein powder, supplements, branded, t-shirts and apparel, except just let the mind wander. Again, really importantly, what I probably want to say there is the plan is not to bat 1,000s, despite the fact that that's what your psychology, that's what your instincts, that's what your client's instincts will naturally go to. But McDonald's hit 300 on the fry offering, and it's $1 billion of net profit, clear profit. So your client could be adding significant profits by doing this, right? But again, the problem is they hit 300 and they feel like a bit of a failure because, again, they don't have the psychology. Remember, Brilliance versus Temperament, Charlie Munger, Temperament all day long and twice on Sunday if you listen to him. Why should you listen to him? Because he's two things. Oh, well, poor bugger. He passed away at the age of 99 a while ago, right? But at the end of the day, old and rich. And this advice shoots, it's not as sexy as Facebook ads and some of the other sexier type of stuff that you could talk about. But the truth is, these are the fundamentals. The same way that, the guy, swinging the baseball bat, when he falls into a slump, he's making $20 million a year. What does the batting coach say to him? You got to get your butt down. You got to get balanced. Your elbow needs to be up. Keep your eye on the ball, etc. Swing right through the ball. If I'm teaching a 5-year-old how to hit a ball off of a tee box, right? Guess what I'm telling them? Get your butt down, get your elbow up, keep your eye on the ball. The exact same advice that the $20 million hitter gets is the same advice that you give to a 5-year-old. What do they have in common? The fundamentals. What do you need to do in business? You got to get the fundamentals right. It's not sexy. It's not like super exciting, like skydiving. Business, we talked about this a few weeks ago. Like, ultimately, success in business is incredibly boring. It's temperament, right? It's the ability to do the boring stuff over and over and over again and ride it out despite the challenges and just keep going. What do most people do? They change careers every 5 years. Is that a good idea? I would listen 5 minutes of Charlie Munger, and he won't necessarily say that verbatim or exactly, but fundamentally, if you reverse engineered, thought through, use some discernment around his advice and used your critical thinking skills, you'd see that what he would say is you got to take on a career and then you got to continue to do it for 2 decades. And what's going to happen? You're going to be amazing at the end of 2 decades, right? Temperament over brilliance, consistency and discipline over amazing skill and talent. So, Shoots, that's my answer, but how'd I do?
Well, it's interesting to me because it's like you start going and I'm like, man, like you can get so creative. And so you listed off a bunch of good things, and it got me kind of thinking now of if I'm a business owner, if I'm trying to help a business owner, like where do you come up with these ideas? And it just sort of brought me to, well, why don't you just ask your clients? It's fascinating how sometimes just, again, are people too ashamed to ask their clients of what else they would want or what other services they would provide? I'd be looking at my competitors. I'd be taking a look at other industries. I'd be taking a look at event chains. Do you just think it's just a lack of creativity, or why do you think people just are even reluctant to ask their own clients of what they would want?
Yeah. Well, the foundation, I could not agree more. It's boring, man, right? And not sexy about raising your, the operating system, right? Got to raise your prices. McDonald's raised their prices not by 50%, not by 20%, by 1.7% on average, but they do it consistently throughout the year. It's part of their operating system. What do business owners not do? They don't raise their prices, don't raise their prices, don't raise the price. They go, oh my gosh, our margins are putrid. That, all of our expenses have been going up. We haven't raised our prices. We got to raise our prices by 10%, by 15%. Well, what happens, right? It's not part of, that's not sexy, raising your prices quarterly, right? Controlling your costs. Remember if you got 20% net margins and you earn $1, you keep 20 cents, right? When you save $1, you keep 100 cents, right? So again, as a business coach, if you're $2,000 a month, 24 grand a year, where's the smarter place to start? At earning dollars where they're keeping 20 cents or saving dollars where they're keeping 100. And by the way, you can't, get rich and wealthy by cutting costs only, to be very, very clear. So understand that is only part of the operating system, but it's a foundational piece. Again, they're trying to get big so they can get rich. And what ends up happening, it's like a wonder of the world that expenses have a way of meeting revenues. right? And again, they just eat at them, because remember, what they're doing is chasing the ego, the sexiness of hitting $1 million, hitting 5 million, hitting 10 million. And they're not in love and fascinated and obsessed with looking at their margins and making sure that their profit margins are, their profit. They're not staring at their profits, not to mention their cash flow, by the way. It's just not as sexy, man. It's the fundamentals. It's the same way that, like, baseball, right? So I can switch hit in baseball, right? So I can hit left and right. Well, guess what? Like, I'm a natural left-handed hitter, but you take me to a batting cage, and guess what I do? I just, for whatever reason, I gotta hit right. You know what I mean? But first, I got to show you that I can hit left really well, and then I walk to the other side of the plate, right? And I start hitting right. I don't know. It's sexier. It's neater. It's something different, right? That's if I wanted to become an elite baseball player, which I am not, never was, but you know what I mean? It's just not, if you're not, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like, Karl, you're a left-handed hitter. Maybe what we should do is, turn you into a really good left-handed hitter instead of a switch hitter, because that's cool. That's neat to be able to say, right? So fundamentals, man, fundamentals.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just something as simple as, if that, let's say you've got a monthly recurring sort of a situation, and that the average client stays with you, let's say 6 months. Well, what's it going to take to get to 7? What's it going to take to get to 8? Because again, adding an extra, 2 months onto 6, well, that's a third, right? That's 33% longer that they're with you, which that has a huge effect on your bottom line. So sometimes it's just those little things that we don't think are sexy. Yeah, like you said, it's the non-sexy stuff. It's just your daily disciplines that over time will lead to massive results. So with that in mind, why don't you close us out? Like, we covered, I feel like, a lot. And I appreciate the shout out to the butcher, the baker, but not the candlestick maker. We'll circle back to that.
Oh, I didn't do.
Oh,
shoot, I did.
Yeah,
Don't worry.
Listen, if you know of any candlestick makers, the next episode is for you. Karl is going to tell you exactly how to build, grow, and scale your candlestick making business. Anywho, close us out, Shoots. What's the one thing that people should take from today's episode?
The one thing, I think it's hard to get past the old and rich. That falls again. It's not, it's cooler to watch, let's just say the guy with the muscle shirt and the tattoos, who's an unbelievable speaker and feels like super motivating, versus watching Warren Buffett speak like he's old, grandpa, and Charlie Munger. You know what I mean? Like, they don't have that dynamic way about them. But I got to tell you, that's some of the best advice ever. So, making sure that as you're going through, who you're listening to, what are you doing, etc., you want to make sure that these are folks that have been through, you know what I mean, the highs and lows. Like, I've been in business coaching for 21 years, right? The first year was so bad that I don't tend to count it, but at the end of the day, I've been, 21 years. You could imagine the number of people that I've seen come and go, and some of the people that got started, knocked it out of the park, and they're going to do this, and they're going to do that, change the game, and oh my gosh, and exit for this and exit for that, and blah, blah, freaking blah. And where do you think they are now? And the answer is, they moved on to their next thing. They rode the, every 5 years go and adjust. It comes back to deep work. There's a book, Deep Work, unbelievable book, unbelievable book. And it's about, like, probably very obvious, right? But you don't want to go wide. You want to go an inch wide and then a mile deep, right? You want to make sure that the folks that you're following, the people that you're listening to, have, you know what I mean? They've ridden out the good, the bad, the ugly, of your industry and of the times. And I think those are the types of people you want to be listening to versus, the folks, screaming from the mountaintop, including the spiritual guy who's saying, look, here's the great lifestyle. This is how to find your way. And the truth is that they're more lost in the audience. And it's the, that highly masculine Andrew Tate type that the truth is, struggling more and more insecure than the audience. Right. I think and I look, really importantly, it's the guy saying, he's planes, trains, and automobiles. And I've done my share of speaking, and I've done more motivational talks than I could shake a stick at, to be clear, right? So I'm talking from a place of experience here. But they're on the road for 200, 250, whatever number of days, and they're telling you to live this amazing life. And the truth is that, they've got X amount of divorces, a certain level of happiness within their marriage, within their family, and their kids are just missing them wildly. Their grandkids are missing them wildly. The family's missing them wildly. The wife or the husband's just like, gosh, I wish I was more important to him or to her than that damn business, that next sale, than that client that they don't even know. I wish I could get dinner with them at 6:00 instead of him or her being on the phone at 6:00 talking to these people that they hardly know. Yes, you got to earn a living. Yes, you need to do well. But at the same time, I don't know, is that an example? If you want to have an amazing life, the first thing you have to do is define an amazing life, right? And your idea of an amazing life will be different than my idea of an amazing life, and different from Road Dogg's idea of an amazing life. But you got to define it to know what it actually is. But I would hard pressed or find it hard to believe that being on the road for 200 days a year, 225 days a year, that sounds really sexy to somebody who's never done it, right? They was, oh my God, the travel, the countries, the different cities. That sounds amazing. Well, the truth, it does sound amazing. You know what? You do it and you find you're sleeping in hotels, watching TV alone, having dinner alone, and using a pillow that is significantly too soft or too hard, or a bed that is too soft or too hard. And you wake up with an insanely sore neck or insanely sore back. And then what do? You pack up your goodies, you pack up your luggage, and then you go to the next city, the next state, the next country, the next speaking gig. I don't know and by the way, for some, that might be exactly how you define an amazing life, and God bless you, go for it. But it might not be. But if it's not, then I wouldn't be following that individual on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on TikTok, etc., because they might not be having, the life that you ultimately want. Anywho, shits, that's so old and rich. That's how I'm going to end it. Follow those guys.
And I just want to point this out to all the listeners. Okay, obviously everybody knows that's listening that Karl and I have been friends for well over a decade. And when this old and rich, how many times have you heard Karl say that in this podcast alone?
No.
When Karl is like a dog on a bone on a certain subject, folks, pay attention. Pay attention. Take note. Okay. When he is relentless on a subject, that is a key to, as he puts it, the kingdom right there. So just old and rich, take that with write that down and remember it, folks, because I can tell you, somebody who's known him for a long time now, when he gets on and he's passionate about certain topics, that's when you need to pay attention. And this is definitely one of them. So Shoots, big shout out and thank you for this podcast. Well done. As always. And everybody, thanks for tuning into another episode of Business Coaching Secrets. Hey, and if you're not on the inside getting access to the pre-show, you aren't getting Karl's daily emails, you just want more information on how you can build, grow, and scale your coaching company, please just go to focused.com and subscribe today. Do yourself that favor. And again, if you enjoyed this podcast, please like and subscribe, and also share with a fellow coach. Hey, listen, we're trying to make our impact on the greater coaching community. And while you're at it, feel free to leave us a review. And that, folks, is it for another week. We will see you in the next episode. And remember, not just old and rich, but progress equals happiness. Take care, everybody.
Karl Bryan built Profit Acceleration Software 2.0. So as a business coach, you'll never again have to worry about working with business owners that can't afford your high-end coaching fees. Check us out at focused.com.